Since its 1995 debut, there have been many awkward and surprising moments. In this two-part video I'll be pointing out some of those and as well the biggest and awesome game announcements that eventually saw the light of day, and others that didn't. Prior to E3, video game novelties were presented at other trade shows like CES and ECTS in some dark and obscure spaces within the fair itself, and to get to those, we had most likely to walk past all the porn vendors. The 16-bit era had already faded out, and 1995's E3 was when players were struck by the announcement that the Sega Saturn was, at that precise moment, available in stores and not only by fall of that year. Then Sony's press conference came along and the announcement that the Sony PlayStation would be available in September in North America and Europe for just $299.
$299.
A full $100 cheaper than Sega's brand new machine, and would have more than 50 games by the end of the year. Nintendo unveiled its Virtual Boy that turned out being a huge commercial flop, and also announced the Ultra 64 as their next console to be launched in the summer of 1996. SNK's home system would be the Neo Geo CD. 3DO showed off their M2 console that was never released, and Atari Jaguar VR was announced, complete with virtual reality headset units and controller, and also the Jaguar CD add-on. As for the games, the main stars were Sega's Vector Man, Sony's Battle Arena Toshinden, Ridge Racer, and Twisted Metal, and Williams' Mortal Kombat 3. 1996 was a year where many of the greatest gaming franchises ever were born: Resident Evil, Tomb Raider, and Crash Bandicoot. But Nintendo was the main attraction of the fair, mainly because of all the hype behind their new home console. The Nintendo 64 was revealed to the public, and as well, the new Mario 64 that is considered one of the best video games ever made.
Or secret we can set. We will walk through walls. We will take a look around us. We will not be confined. We believe in the path of...
The brand also unveiled its Game Boy Pocket. Besides all this Nintendo hype, there were other great announcements that year. A trailer of Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation was showed, Virtua Fighter 3 by Sega, and also from Sega, an internet browser for the Saturn was revealed that turned out to be another commercial failure. Sony did it again in 1996. Dropped PlayStation's price to $199. One day after Sony's announcement, Sega followed with a similar Saturn price drop. A few more games also need some recognition: Pilot Wings 64 and Wave Race 64, obviously from Nintendo, and Nights into Dreams, and Sonic Extreme for the Saturn. E3 had a huge exponential growth that a new bigger place with a size of 35 football fields was announced for the 1997 event, and gladly, that was a year without the traditional new systems and consoles overdose. So 1997 was a year exclusively for games, about 1500 to be more precise, and mostly for the PlayStation. The PC gained an extra boost for games with a new Pentium 2 processor, and Half-Life and Unreal were the main attractions for that platform, followed by other great first-person shooters like Sin, Daikatana, Quake 2, Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 and Prey. On the console's panorama, Metal Gear Solid was revealed for the PlayStation, but probably the main star of the show was 007 GoldenEye for the Nintendo 64. Besides having this huge attraction, the Nintendo 64 also had on display one of the worst video games ever released, Superman. It was also the year for 3DFX. Practically every single PC game on display was powered by 3DFX, and that made me instinctively buy one of those magical boards for my PC in the summer of '97. Other titles were as well showed off: Tomb Raider 2, the very first Grand Theft Auto, Fallout, Panzer Dragoon Saga, Banjo-Kazooie, F-Zero 64, Final Fantasy VII, Oddworld, Resident Evil 2, Star Fox 64, and Time Crisis. But the most iconic for its consequent delays was Duke Nukem Forever. Another year dedicated to the most important stuff, games. It was the year for the very first Gran Turismo. Pokémon series had its debut. Silent Hill and Final Fantasy VIII were presented for the PlayStation. And The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64 was probably the main player of the fair. The highly anticipated Half-Life had a near final version displayed, and a Duke Nukem Forever first video was shown. As you all know, the game was only released more than a decade later.
I was born to rock the world.
Also in 1998, and surrounded by mist, Sega and Microsoft revealed for the press, and for the press only, its 128-bit marvel named Dreamcast. So the Saturn was at this point pronounced dead. Besides all these goodies, other great titles were announced that year. Diablo 2,
The first gate. I know that the better part of my soul will remain behind.
Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit, Tomb Raider 3, Art of Darkness, Indiana Jones and Infernal Machine,
Sophia! Turner!
Age of Empires 2, Tekken 3, Perfect Dark, and Homeworld.
An object under the sands of the great desert. An ancient starship
buried in the sand.
Back in LA, 1999 Z3 was once again the stage for new console announcements, but the only one and the very first 6th generation console available and just released in Japan was brought by Sega, the Dreamcast. Gamers were blown away by its graphical quality, and American players could only get their hands on one of those by September the 9th. In Europe, the Dreamcast would only be available later that year. Nintendo also announced its next generation console, the Dolphin, later renamed GameCube, and Sony unveiled what would be the next PlayStation with a dedicated spot showing off some graphics demonstrations of what was coming. A Neo Geo handheld was also presented to the public, the Pocket Color, but revealed as a commercial failure. 1999 wasn't just about the next generation of consoles. There were also some pretty good games announced. Donkey Kong 64,
Lanky, chunky, tiny, and Donkey Kong himself.
Soul Calibur, Unreal Tournament, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Crash Team Racing, Dino Crisis, Ape Escape, and System Shock 2. Despite Sega's Dreamcast having the hottest booth and the most generous offer in terms of video game titles available for testing, the year was for the PlayStation 2, with Sony promising a $299 price tag and about 51 games for Christmas. From Microsoft came the announcement of their own video game system, the Xbox. Also, a third-person PC game named Halo Combat Evolved was revealed.
The drop zone is clear. I repeat, the drop zone is clear.
Understood. Lieutenant, let's get this thing moving.
Hang tight. This may get a little rough.
As for Nintendo, it continued to give support for its Nintendo 64 gaming console and showed a few more details for the upcoming next-gen GameCube. Also, a new portable was unveiled, the Game Boy Advance. But the title that really stood out from the crowd was this 9-minute trailer from Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty. This tiny sneak peek, presented on the show, was just mind-boggling and left everyone drooling. A few more titles presented on the fair deserve being mentioned. Marvel vs. Capcom 2: New Age of Heroes and Seaman for Dreamcast,
I may not look so hot to you, but you should see yourselves through my eyes.
Conker's Bad Fur Day for Nintendo 64, Max Payne and Rune for PC. Also, the Unreal Engine 2 was revealed that would bring new tools for PC gaming development. There were also protests outside the show, because of the Columbine high school shootings. The boys who committed the crime were known Doom enthusiasts. 2001 was the year that everyone were looking forward for more info about Metal Gear Solid 2. However, there was this little gem that no one seemed to have noticed: Grand Theft Auto 3. There was also two other PlayStation 2 titles that grabbed a chunk of the audience's attention: Devil May Cry and Gran Turismo 3.
Cause I don't wanna drag you down, hold you down. Cause you're a friend, I blame myself.
But 2001 was a year that everyone was eager for a new Nintendo home system. Everybody wanted to talk about hardware. That year, besides Nintendo's GameCube and the Game Boy Advance, there was also this amazing novelty: Microsoft's own gaming console, the Xbox. With it came three great franchises: Medal of Honor Allied Assault, Halo Combat Evolved, and Project Gotham Racing. As for Nintendo and its press conference, Miyamoto carried the Wavebird wireless controller and showed the audience that he could play games from halfway across the auditorium. He also brought a few titles to demonstrate the power of his newest console, like Luigi's Mansion, Pikmin, and Super Mario Sunshine. This was also the year where the PC was seen as a dying gaming platform by developers, and when Sega pulled the plug on their console development and started focusing on software for other console manufacturers. From this moment on, Sega became a third-party software publisher. 2002 was the year for Doom 3. PC gaming wasn't dead after all. No one had ever seen this kind of graphics on a video game. This one was a much slower paced game, nearly like a survival horror type of thing. Really scary stuff. This was once again an E3 filled with games gladly, and online gaming was making its first steps. Microsoft took advantage by launching the Xbox Live service, along with Splinter Cell, Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance, and the exclusives Unreal Championship and Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball. For 2002, Nintendo had on display Metroid Prime and The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker that grabbed the crowd's attention. But other multi-platform games were also applauded: Red Faction 2, Time Splitters 2, and Turok Evolution. Military games were becoming hugely popular in video gaming, and Ubisoft stunned the audience with its Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six 3 Raven Shield. But no one expected that even the United States Army would ever get a game of their own. So, in 2002, the Army unveiled a new recruitment tool called America's Army that gamers could download and play for free. Also from Electronic Arts came Battlefield 1942 that stunned everyone who tried it and became another huge success for the PC, also as an online gaming platform. 2002 was also a year of some promising announcements. Tecmo's Ninja Gaiden exclusively for Xbox, And the release of Grand Theft Auto Vice City, firstly for the PlayStation 2, followed by the PC, and only a full year later for the Xbox. As for Sega, now a third-party developer announced Shinobi as a PS2 exclusive and Panzer Dragoon Orta exclusively for the Xbox. Sony also announced the iToy camera, an adapter for online gaming, and a brand new exclusive Contra game, Shattered Soldier. Besides other titles from awesome franchises, Colin McRae Rally 3, Ratchet & Clank, and Red Dead Revolver, being this last one the older brother of the amazing 2009 Red Dead Redemption. Once again, PC games were the main stars of the show. The Sims 2, the very beginning of the Call of Duty franchise, and the amazing Half-Life 2 that had the most incredible physics engine the world had ever seen. But Half-Life 2 was just one of the many big sequels revealed that year. Microsoft's press conference ended blowing the audience with a Halo 2 movie.
It took 2 in the nose, then dropped into the atmosphere.
Who was first contact?
405th out of Diego Garcia.
Wow! Now you've seen where Xbox is going.
And people attending Sony's event went completely wild with a trailer of Gran Turismo 4. But even so, people were asking for Doom 3 and no one seemed to have an answer to that question. Apart from that, Ubisoft resurrected the Prince of Persia franchise with an incredible new look and storytelling. Tecmo's exclusive Xbox game Ninja Gaiden was also on display, and Sony left everyone speechless with its announcement of a brand new handheld system, the PSP. When I say everyone, I really mean everyone, even Nintendo that didn't saw it coming. Nokia also entered the game with its N-Gage, but their press conference went incredibly wrong. I believe that it was the worst press conference to this date. Everything just didn't work well, or didn't work at all. This was probably the only scene that saved the show. Another downside came from Blizzard that was planning to release StarCraft Ghost, but it was eventually and unfortunately cancelled.
Serious, boys. It sounds hotter than Georgia asphalt down there.
StarCraft Ghost coming 2003.
Other significant future releases were showcased. Stalker,
the crystals in the camp.
Far Cry, Guild Wars.
We've journeyed to this place to combat the forces of evil. For this land
and Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. – 2004 was the year when everyone was already focusing towards the 7th generation of consoles. However, 2 handhelds were featured on that year's E3, Sony's PSP and Nintendo's DS.
My name is Reggie, I'm about kicking ass, I'm about taking names, and we're about making games.
Everyone was just intrigued about the DS and its dual-screen display, and the presence of Miyamoto himself tried to convince the crowd. Sony, on the other hand, announced that was already working on the PlayStation 3, driving the audience completely insane, and Microsoft's Halo 2 was also grabbing huge attention. During this 4-day show, one question regarding the launch date of Doom 3, Half-Life 2 and Gran Turismo 4 remained unanswered. However, the title that got the most incredible reaction from the public was The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess for the GameCube. Other titles were also applauded by the public. Metal Gear Solid 3,
生き残った者がボスの称号を受け継ぐ。この先には我が息子たちとグルーが待ち構えている。さあ、
God of War,
The gods of Olympus have abandoned me.
the announcement of a brand new Grand Theft Auto game, San Andreas, Fear,
Jankowski, can you cover him from the air? Let's go right in. Watch out, grenade!
the rise of the massively multiplayer online role-playing game genre with World of Warcraft, and The Sims 2. By this time, Doom 3, Half-Life 2 and Gran Turismo 4 were released, yay! And, obviously, major commercial successes. To this present date, Doom 3 sold more than 3.5 million copies, Gran Turismo 4 11.73 million, and Half-Life 2 more than 12 million copies. The 2005 E3 was the first ever to be televised and was packed with fans eager to know more about the upcoming next generation consoles that would be revealed soon. So that year was all about the hardware, with Microsoft demoing their Xbox 360, with Alan Wake being the title to get the biggest hype from the crowd, and Sony showing some pre-rendered 1080p videos of future titles, leaving everyone impressed but, at the same time, suspicious. Probably the biggest surprise came once again from Nintendo with its presentation of the so-called Revolution console, later renamed Wii. Its controllers, however, remained in secrecy till the end of that same year. If that wasn't enough, also a new portable was unveiled, the Game Boy Micro. Despite all this hardware mayhem, a few good software titles were presented that also got some attention. Battlefield 2, Call of Duty 2, Age of Empires 3, Unreal Tournament 2007,
Flag taken.
We have the flag.
Red flag taken.
Star Wars Empire at War,
Ready. Target acquired.
Quake 4, Hitman Blood Money, Company of Heroes, Civilization 4, The Witcher,
Don't get killed.
and The Elder Scrolls Oblivion that made Ivan Cordeiro spend all his money building a brand new PC just to run it poorly. Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 and the Nintendo Wii were the most coveted items of 2006 E3. By that time, Microsoft's console was the only one that was already available in stores, and its main weapon were the exclusives: Fable 2, Halo 3, and Peter Moore's announcement that Grand Theft Auto 4 would have exclusive future episodic content through Xbox Live. Obviously, those were later also available for PlayStation 3 and Windows PCs. However, all the attention was towards the Nintendo Wii. Huge lines with up to 4 hours of wait time formed just to try out this revolutionary console. Even Steven Spielberg wanted to test this motion-sensitive controller that the Wii is best known for. It was, without any doubt, the center of all game-related things at E3 that year. Wii Sports, a Wii-adapted version of Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, Super Mario Galaxy, Metroid Prime 3, these were Nintendo's highlights. They've also announced the Nintendo's DS Lite availability in US territory, never mentioning Wii's price. This was reserved for later in the year, closer to its launch. Microsoft's press conference was all about games and also featured Bill Gates' announcement of the Live Anywhere service that would bring closer together their 7th generation console and PCs via the upcoming Windows Vista operating system. As for Sony, they've announced PS3 prices and revealed the 6-axis motion sensing controller that was later dropped off and swapped by the version 3 of the good old DualShock with vibration capabilities. Besides all games mentioned before, there were others that also deserve some recognition. God of War 2, Guitar Hero 2, Assassin's Creed, Crysis, Battlefield 2142, Gears of War,
Emergence Day,
Red Steel, Castlevania Portrait of Ruin, and Ratchet & Clank Size Matters.
Ready to battle and back on the PlayStation 2.
July of 2006 was also stage for 2 awfully sad announcements by the ESA, the Entertainment Software Association: the transformation of the Electronic Entertainment Expo into an invite-only event to reduce crowd, and the banishing of booth babes. So, 2007's E3 moved to Santa Monica and was consequently labeled as Media and Business Summit, dedicated to a restrict group of journalists. In consequence, after the 60,000 visitors of the past year, 2007's E3 had only 10,000 people walking through these corridors during those 3 days. Events and press conferences took place in various hotels in Santa Monica rather than at a specific central location, and small independent developers were hampered and stifled by the big boys. This fact was highly criticized by Maxis co-founder Will Wright. Despite these changes and controversy, E3 was stage of a few good video game announcements by Sony and Microsoft. MotorStorm, that would come bundled with a new 80GB PS3, Halo 3 and Halo Wars,
This is Spartan Group Omega.
Uncharted Drake's Fortune.
We thought. Let's just keep that between us.
Fallout 3. Silent Hill Origins. Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots.
He's taken command of this immense army and is now preparing to unleash it.
BioShock. Gran Turismo 5. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Resident Evil 5. And Soul Calibur 4, to name a few. On the Nintendo side, there were some peripheral announcements for the Wii. The Wii will bundled with the brand new Mario Kart Wii, the Wii Balance Board, and the Wii Zapper. The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass and Metroid Prime 3 Corruption were also demoed and deserve being mentioned. Second year of the new E3 format that only had around 5,000 attendees, 50% less than 2007's event. Again in LA, and apart from all that criticism, an exclusive Nintendo DS Grand Theft Auto game was announced, Chinatown Wars. This is still considered the best title for that handheld. It was later also available for the Sony PSP and other portable devices such as Apple's iPhone and iPad and Android-based smartphones and tablets. Nintendo also announced the Wii Speak and the Wii Motion Plus expansion device for more accurate movement. Also a Wii Music demo was presented along with some other goodies. Animal Crossing City Folk, and Wii Sports Resort. Besides announcements of big updates for Xbox Live and for the PlayStation Network, news from Microsoft and Sony were basically in the form of sequels for their greatest franchises. Resistance 2, Fallout 3, Fable 2, Ratchet & Clank Quest for Booty.
Guys, I'm not looking for any.
Gears of War 2,
An eye to my pledged word.
Resident Evil 5, Saints Row 2,
He gon' need a lot of help.
Final Fantasy 13, and a tiny sneak peek of God of War 3.
We will triumph. In the end, there will be only chaos.
The old E3 is back. And with it, awesome game announcements. Assassin's Creed 2, Forza Motorsport 3, Gran Turismo and Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker for the PSP,
A nation without a military. The people must turn to
teaser trailers for Crysis 2 and Halo Reach,
Noble 1, come in. Noble 1, do you read me?
Super Mario Galaxy 2 and New Super Mario Bros. Wii, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves,
Here, I've got you. Give me your hand. Just go.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Heavy Rain, Castlevania Lords of Shadow. The Beatles rock band, with the presence of Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr themselves in the stage of Microsoft's press conference, and Red Dead Redemption.
This is the land of opportunity, mister!
Force! Force must be used if you're to have your own way.
It was also the year for unveilings of motion sensor controllers, Project Natal from Microsoft, and Sony's PlayStation Move. Sony also revealed their new PSP Go handheld. This year, Ubisoft and Electronic Arts also had press conferences of their own, and was the first time we've had a glimpse to The Last Guardian, the spiritual sequel to Shadow of the Colossus. Now, where were we? Two days before the beginning of the actual 2010 E3 event, Microsoft's press conference convinced the audience with its presentation of the Kinect, formerly known as Project Natal, and various demos were presented live on stage. Dance Central, Kinectimals, Your Shape Fitness Evolved, and Kinect Star Wars. If that wasn't enough, a new slimmer version of the Xbox 360 was also unveiled, and the upcoming Gears of War 3 was announced. Nintendo centered its conference on the new 3DS system and the re-release of classic titles like Donkey Kong, not forgetting the usual announcement of a new Zelda game, Skyward Sword for the Wii, but due to wireless interferences, some technical issues occurred. After Gabe Newell's statement that it was a waste of time to develop games for the PlayStation 3, he made an appearance at Sony's press conference to announce that PS3's Portal 2 was the best console version. Another awesome moment was Kevin Butler's inspiring message to all gamers.
Deep down inside, we all serve one master, one king, and his name is gaming. Forever may he reign!
There was also time for Konami's disastrous presentation. I'm not gonna comment this, it's so freaking stupid. Let's just forget that this happened and watch some highlights of a few of the most important video games present. Mafia 2, God of War Ghosts of Sparta, Call of Duty Black Ops,
Seeing is not believing. Where only a few know.
Test Drive Unlimited 2, The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings, Fallout New Vegas, MotorStorm Apocalypse, Deus Ex Human Revolution,
You'll never find them.
and the reboot of Twisted Metal. As you can see, reboots and remakes come a long way. Another year for portable systems from Nintendo and Sony, leaving Microsoft a step back and completely losing this year's E3. But despite weak Kinect demonstrations, the brand unveiled Halo 4, Forza 4, and the final release date for Gears of War 3. Sony's brand new handheld, the Vita, was announced, and a partnership with AT&T was received with laughs by the journalists present at the brand's press conference. However, this was probably the most impressive piece of technology present at E3 that year. As for Nintendo's Wii U, it was the first 8th generation console to be announced. It was also Nintendo's very first high-definition system that features this unique gamepad with an embedded touchscreen that can, in supported games, be used independently of the main display. Aside from a bunch of Wii U demonstrations and the celebration of the 25th anniversary of The Legend of Zelda, the 3DS also had their own spotlights: Super Mario 3D Land, Mario Kart 7 and Star Fox 64 3D. This was a year of other big video game announcements.
I'm back, baby.
Remember Duke Nukem Forever? It was finally released that year. Battlefield 3, Mass Effect 3, Batman Arkham City, Skyrim, the reboot of Tomb Raider, BioShock Infinite, and Uncharted 3: Drake's Deception. 2012 was a quiet year. People were expecting major console announcements from Sony and from Microsoft. Nintendo, on the other hand, completely lost the opportunity to really stand out and only showed a slightly improved version of their U console with some tweaks to its controller and main unit. However, 3 titles did impress the crowd: New Super Mario Bros. U, Pikmin 3 and Rayman Legends. So the main attractions were the games, and the one that made people's eyes pop out was Watch Dogs, with its unique style of gameplay and this beautifully designed open world environment. Besides Ubisoft's innovative game, other amazing products were revealed: Beyond Two Souls, Resident Evil 6,
looks like things just went from bad to worse.
Forza Horizon, The Last of Us, Dance Central 3 with a special demonstration by Usher, Need for Speed Most Wanted, Assassin's Creed 3, Crysis 3, God of War Ascension, Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch,
Why did you set out on this journey in the first place?
and Far Cry 3. Finally, the 8th generation arrived in great style, at least for Sony. 2013 Z3 was one of the most anticipated ever, but Microsoft's recent announcement of DRM implementation and always online requirement for its new Xbox One console automatically opened the doors to Sony's PlayStation 4 ascent to victory, not mentioning Xbox One's $499 starting price against PS4's $399. Nintendo also had a bland E3 with few attractive moments: a new Pokémon for the 3DS, and for the Wii U, The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker HD, Bayonetta 2, Super Smash Bros., Super Mario 3D World, and Mario Kart 8. Nonetheless, Microsoft should be proud of their own Xbox One launch titles presented: Dead Rising 3, Rise Son of Rome, a brand new Halo game, and the reboot of Killer Instinct as a free-to-play game that has all game modes available but only one playable character. Its presentation, however, was stained by an unfortunate comment made during the onstage demonstration. Konami also celebrated its 40th birthday and showed off some titles like, for instance, Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2 and Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. Other amazing video games were announced: Need for Speed Rivals,
you can't catch devils with angels,
Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, Trials Fusion, Battlefield 4, Wolfenstein: The New Order, Infamous Second Son, Titanfall, The Crew, The Order 1868, Gran Turismo 6, The Wolf Among Us.
So cost someone their life. Something's going on.
The remake of Rise of the Triads, and the highly anticipated Grand Theft Auto 5.
I think you need a new therapist.
Last year's E3 was one of those that I really enjoy watching. So many games displayed, so many game announcements, and so many promises from the main players. Gamers were amazed by the quantity, but mainly by the quality of the titles that were showcased. Microsoft and Sony pulled off interesting press conferences with pretty solid announcements and video game unveilings. As for Nintendo, and just like in last year's E3, they've opted for a pre-recorded presentation of their novelties and made also some interesting announcements like Hyrule Warriors, Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, Xenoblade Chronicles X, the next Legend of Zelda for Wii U, Mario Party 10, not mentioning this fever called Amiibo. So, I'm just gonna point out a few titles from a huge list of awesome games that were announced and others that had a playable version available at the show floor. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare.
And you think that you can just march into these countries based on some fundamentalist religious principles, drop a few bombs?
Dragon Age Inquisition, Batman Arkham Knight,
Yes, I will love you forever. Your father.
Assassin's Creed Unity, Destiny, Tom Clancy Rainbow Six Siege,
Good job, guys. Yeah.
Bloodborne, The Evil Within,
God damn it!
Elite Dangerous, Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, Drive Club, Halo 5 Guardians, Mortal Kombat 10, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt,
Every decision you make will bring devastation.
The Sims 4,
She was forever on a quest for true love, until she met the
Far Cry 4, and Alien Isolation. Also, a trailer for GTA 5 was shown, announcing that a polished version of the game would be later available for PS4, Xbox One and PC. Grand Theft Auto 5 was initially launched in September of 2013 and sold till 6th of June of 2015 for all platforms altogether. More than 52 million copies. What a feat! And we've reached 2015, and what a show it was, starting right off with Oculus VR hosting a pre-E3 press conference unveiling the Rift's final version and showing off all its power through some on-stage demonstrations. Bethesda also hosted its very first E3 press conference and ended up blowing everyone away with this Doom trailer and the official announcement of the release date of Fallout 4. But two of the biggest highlights of the show were Microsoft's announcement of Xbox One backward compatibility and Microsoft HoloLens, that was also nicely received by Minecraft fans, in which I'm not included. My thing is more towards this nice rare compilation of old gems from the past. Then the Electronic Arts conference came along, and I simply had to grab my nuts from the ground after this mind-blowing demo of Battlefront.
Incoming fire! We've got to hold this last position! Don't let it fall into Imperial hands!
Apart from this, I just can't quite remember what really happened in EA's conference. I remember Pelé being there, trying to say something to the audience, and that's pretty much it. I really hope that Electronic Arts had learned something from this year's Ubisoft presentation. There was one hell of a press conference with awesome and confident hosting from Miss Aisha Tyler that took us all through this journey of awesome titles. For Honor, Ghost Recon Wildlands, and Assassin's Creed Syndicate, besides others. Now, as for Sony, it just set the whole place on fire. The Last Guardian haven't died despite all the difficulties that the development team had while working on it for the PS3. It seems that Gabe Newell's previous statement back in 2010 was real. Then, the place completely exploded when Shenmue 3 was announced.
Success. When you choose to make it the full-on Shenmue experience, you have...
And that wasn't the end of it. Final Fantasy VII HD Remake was unveiled. Looks like Sony had been listening to the fans. And to conclude this astonishing press conference, a rolling demo of Uncharted 4 was revealed. What a ride! Oh, I almost forgot about Nintendo. What can I say about that pre-recorded video? It was bad. Nintendo was completely unrecognizable this year. practically passed unnoticed, cause Sony's press conference was still in everyone's minds. That was probably the biggest problem for Nintendo, from where I'm standing. Moving on, other titles must be as well highlighted. Forza 6, Dark Souls 3, The Division, Rise of the Tomb Raider,
Let's find a way.
Gears of War 4,
Seriously?
Damn it! Back to town!
Need for Speed, Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare 2, The Crew Wild Run, Horizon Zero Dawn,
There's the herd. Finally.
Deus Ex Mankind Divided, Mirror's Edge Catalyst, Mass Effect Andromeda, and King's Quest.